So Mortal Kombat 1 came out a couple weeks ago, and I finally beat the game a couple days, almost a week now. But since Lies of P also came out on the same day as Mortal Kombat 1, I kind of wanted to finish Lies of P first because it's a way longer game. But since I've now beaten Mortal Kombat 1, I wanted to give my review. But before I get into the story category, I want to give some disclaimers first. First off, spoiler warning, I'm going to spoil every end of this game's story, so if you haven't played it, that was your warning, just click off now. The next disclaimer is that I have never cared much for fighting games at all that much, so I'm not really into like the lore of the whole Mortal Kombat series like that. This is actually the first Mortal Kombat game that I've played, or that I vividly remember playing from start to finish. Other ones I literally would just play a few times with a friend or something. So if there's something that I get wrong that I would have needed to play the older games to know, just let me know in my comments. But to my knowledge, I don't think I really need to know much about the older games or the previous games, because this is a rebooted universe, and the only person with real history in this universe is Liu Kang, and I think the Shang Tsung that is like the big bad guy behind the scenes pulling all the strings all along, not the one that's prevalent throughout most of the story. But everyone else is completely rebooted, and they are like they're fresh new characters again at this point, so I think I'm good on that front. So with all that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright, so where do I even begin? Because my god, this story is a fucking mess. I guess I'll start off with the positives before I get into the negatives. So first off, this game's story is a fun time. Even if I don't think it's well written, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the humor and the action in this story. And I honestly do like a good amount of the characters in this game from like a personality perspective. Johnny Cage was honestly probably my favorite, and he was actually one of the only characters in this game that really had like a character arc that was like semi-fleshed out, not like really like fully fleshed out, but it was like semi-fleshed out, and you kind of notice it. Li Mei and Sindel also had a cool moment of coming together after what happened with Sindel's husband, and I thought Shang Tsung was a pretty decent villain. But that's pretty much where my positives end, because this is a good way to segue into my first overarching criticism of this story. Pretty much every single character in this game is about as deep as a blow-up pool from Target. Like Baraka, for example. We get introduced to him at a point in the story, and we learn how this disease has affected his life. It took his family and everything that he had going for him, and now he's living in constant pain. And now there is nothing wrong with this. Giving someone a reason to feel bad, care for, or even understand the motives of a character is always a good thing. But that should only really be used as a starting point for a character to go through a story. When you don't go any farther than that, there's nothing much more really to it. Like, hey, look at this. I just made this character. His name is Bob. He was bullied at school, abused by his parents as a kid, and then his parents died, and he was left in foster care. Are you interested in my character yet? Now, you might be interested in this character because I gave you a reason to feel bad for him. But now, I'm not really gonna do much with this character, and I'm just gonna, kind of just let him ride. You see what I mean? Just giving surface level background for a character and not really doing much else isn't really anything meaningful. And that's how pretty much every single character in this game is. Like, let's take Bode from Star Wars Jedi Survivor, just for a recent example. Without really spoiling anything about Jedi Survivor, when we first meet Bode, we learn that he is working with Cal and fighting against the Empire for his daughter. This is good surface level depth to the character, but if they didn't really do much with him throughout the rest of the story, it would really mean nothing. But it's what happens later in the game's story and how we see what Bode does and how his flaws are shown throughout that make him a way better and more interesting character. And if you've played Jedi Survivor, you know what I'm talking about. Surface level depth is fine for characters, and I even think it works perfectly fine and is good enough for side characters that aren't really a main focus of a story. But when your story is filled with side characters and no one really has time to shine or really be fleshed out like that, then it's not very good storytelling, especially when this game's plot is about as basic as a pack of white t-shirts. But moving on from the characters, let's talk about the plot. So number one, we start off with like an introduction to Raiden and Kung Lao. Doesn't really have any big issues here. We see Granny start throwing hands, so Kung Lao and Raiden start protecting Grandma. I was wondering why the Lin Kuei didn't just absolutely violate Kung Lao and Raiden, but it's later revealed that they were holding back to test Kung Lao and Raiden. But I think Smoke forgot to hold back while fighting Granny. But I do have a question that's not really answered in this story. Why doesn't Liu Kang just train these two at a younger age where they could train earlier with the monks? Like, would training with the monks not prepare them better to be Earth's champions if they were to prepare for an earlier age? They would have a longer time to train. And it's the same thing with Johnny Cage. I don't even know if I want to really consider this like a big issue, just something that I found weird. I guess Liu Kang just likes surface level character development, but I do think this chapter chapter teaches us an important lesson, and it's to be more like this guy. Sees a big fight going down, just doesn't give a fuck. Sub-Zero freezes Raiden's blade, and this guy's just like, appreciate it, my boy. Grabs an ice cube and just puts that shit in his drink. Then we get to Johnny Cage's introduction, and the first couple fights add literally nothing to the story. And the fights on this movie set just feel like filler because, again, there's no meaning behind this whole segment until we get to Johnny's house. The third thing is, when we get to the tournament and meet General Shao, Liu Kang says this:
"Have you still not told most Earthrealmers that Outworld exists?"
"It is safer that way, General."
Okay, Liu Kang, so if you think it's safer that way and you don't want Earth knowing about Outworlds and all that shit, then why are you letting Johnny Cage record everything, knowing he's trying to make a movie out of this? The fourth thing is, if Liu Kang knows Shang Tsung could be a possible threat if he defied his destiny, then why not make it so that he doesn't have a troubled upbringing, which would more likely cause him to become bad? Or better yet, why not just make him a Lin Kuei or a champion so he can guide his upbringing? But no, Liu Kang just gave him a shitty life. Cool. Like, I'm telling y'all, Liu Kang really just likes himself a story. The fifth thing is when we get to the Baraka intro, which was on our way to capture Shang. So not only is it mighty convenient that Shang didn't bring enough people to contain the Tarkins if they rage out like they do, but also, like, how did they even get overpowered here? These guys literally had less numbers in the later story, and they were able to detain Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which is another issue that I will get to later. But also, how the fuck does this game expect me to believe that Shang was about to die at the hands of Baraka? This man literally beats Kenshi, Scorpion, and General Shao from a different universe later in the game, and you expect me to believe that Baraka can beat him? Not only is this an issue, but it also makes Shang seem like a less intimidating threat, which is something you shouldn't do for the main villain of this story. The sixth thing is onto Melina at Shang's base. So if the Tarkat disease only makes people bloodthirsty after a long time, as Baraka tells us,
"We are victims of Tarkat. The disease is not easily gotten, but you can't risk more close exposure. It disfigures, then debilitates. In time, it will turn us all into bloodthirsty monsters. Death is our only release. I am Baraka."
What does Shang Tsung want with your bone marrow, Baraka?
"I don't know, but he comes here each month to harvest it."
But Baraka's people have had it for a while, and they aren't all bloodthirsty zombies, because they can obviously listen to reason, and when Baraka tells them not to attack and let like Kenshi and the gang go, they stop getting all defensive. So then why does Melina become bloodthirsty as soon as she loses control? Shang was specifically going there to get bone marrow for Melina. Now this means that Melina would have gotten the disease after Baraka and all the other Tarkins at that place, but none of them are crazy like Melina. And if anything, Melina should have progressed slower than any of the others because she was actually being treated for the disease. And also, if we look at her compared to the other Tarkins who have had the disease for even longer, or even Baraka for example, we can obviously tell that they're way further progressed than she is, and again, they're not bloodthirsty, but Melina just somehow is. The seventh thing is, and this is literally in the same moment, Kenshi literally gets fucking blades shoved into his eyes. He should be fucking dead. I'm willing to go in good faith towards this game's like fatal blow attacks and gameplay, and excuse these crazy things sometimes, even though this game has some of the craziest fucking ludonarrative dissonance in the world. But we've been shown consistently in this game's story that people will die from taking this type of damage. For fuck's sake, even Melina, an alternate version of Melina herself, gets the same thing happen to her, and she dies, but Kenshi doesn't. Kenshi somehow survives this. This is, I can't. The eighth thing is, why doesn't Shang just kill the group instead of imprisoning them? He could have easily killed them while they were in the cell, and he even says,
"Cheer up, Syzoth. I'm reuniting you with your family."
They're dead? You killed them?
Many moons ago. I do hate loose ends.
You hate loose ends, but you won't kill them. Okay. And I know that he wanted to experiment on them, but if he knows that they're a danger and doesn't even think that he can beat them all in a fight when they like gang up on him, then why does he not sedate them and put them in the cells that he ordered Reptile to put them in while they were knocked out. He could have so easily knocked them out and just told Reptile to put them in the cells. So using the excuse of they probably needed to be alive for Shang's experiments also doesn't work. I forgot to mention this in my, when I was recording this, but, Colin from the future here. But why does he need to go to the Tarkatan place where Baraka is at to get their bone marrow if he literally already has Tarkatans in his basement? Like, what the fuck? Number 9, Megan Fox.
As I've been doing the sessions, it does force me to like tap into areas of myself that I'm not comfortable.
That blade's enchanted.
It was forged to destroy evil. It's slain many of your vampire kind.
We can't help what we are. That we feed on blood doesn't make us evil.
Well, that's one approach to acting.
The 10th thing is Kenshi's sword activating it just now is very convenient. Why does it not call to him when they're about to die in the prison? And no, don't tell me it's because it siphoned Ermac's souls, because that doesn't happen until after his sword calls to him for the first time. Also, why doesn't Ermac kill Kenshi while he scrambles around for his sword? Or why doesn't he kill any of the others, since he either knocks them all out or takes them out of the fight? And then when Ashura wakes up after being knocked out and they're about to fight Ermac, he says this. There's 2 of them. The 11th thing is when we're at the, like, the little, the Outworld Fair, I guess, or the festival, whatever the fuck this thing is. Why does Reptile create a diversion right in the general area of where the group is? That's obviously gonna cause people to go to that general area, which would make the gang have a higher chance of getting caught. Also, Reptile says this.
To catch me, they must see me.
Then this dude immediately gets caught because he's not invisible. The 12th thing is, and it's when Garrus, like, tells Liu Kang that someone may have defied their destiny or some shit. If they could know about the mystery lady going to Shang this whole time, then why did we need to do all this extra shit going to get Shang and so on? Why did the group even need to deal with Baraka? They wouldn't even have needed to meet Baraka. They wouldn't have been thrown in a jail cell. They could have probably just ran up on him in his, like, little factory if they can just look through this hourglass and see shit, like, from the past. Or better yet, they wouldn't even need to do that. They could just have Liu Kang look through the hourglass and see what Shang is up to. The 13th thing is, and it's when we, like, infiltrate this castle or whatever. So Sub-Zero has an easy chance at killing Shang, but he doesn't take it. And don't tell me he was distracted from the guards running in, because he could have easily killed him real quick. And this is a pretty consistent issue in this story where people should be dying, but they don't. Like, for instance, like I mentioned earlier, the Ermac scene where he could have killed some people in this group. They also get captured by this fucking group of NPCs. I'm sorry, but there is no shot in hell they don't win this fight. Scorpion fucking solo squads all these fuckers. He even knocks out Sub-Zero, beats General Shao, and then he beats Rain, and he escapes and beats Sub-Zero. Yet you're telling me both Sub-Zero and Scorpion couldn't win this fight. These are the same guys that lost to a bunch of random NPC Tarkans, yet they somehow managed to capture Sub-Zero and Scorpion. This causes Sub-Zero to turn his back on the gang and betray everybody, and it also keeps Shang Tsung alive when he should be dead. The 14th thing is, how the fuck am I supposed to take General Shao seriously when every time we fight him, we whoop his ass?
It's a testament to your abilities that you've made it thus far. But now you must face General Shao. Victor of the Tavarian War, conqueror of the Kwatan Plains, defender of the Navala Coast. As has his family for generations, General Shao defends us with zeal and tenacity. All of Outworld is grateful for his service.
That's a notable list of accomplishments, General.
It is a mere fraction of them. A full recitation would take days.
The 15th thing is, Li Mei goes to Sindel to help her. After beating Tanya, she shows that she doesn't wish to truly harm her, and she also even gets the Umgadi to be reasonable with her. Yet for whatever dumbass reason, Tanya is still being hard-headed and won't just hear Li Mei out, even after she doesn't kill her. Sindel as well is just being completely unreasonable, and now her being unreasonable isn't inherently a problem because it's understandable that she would be mad at Li Mei. But when Li Mei is literally telling her she's there to help and shows that she hasn't killed Tanya and is showing no sign of being a threat, why doesn't Sindel just tell Tanya to stop and at least hear Li Mei out for a second? Sindel is risking not knowing the threat that Li Mei is trying to bring to her attention, and again, she has no real reason to be concerned either because, again, Li Mei quite literally would have killed Tanya if she was really there to hurt Sindel's family. The 16th thing is, Ermac comes back to his real self or whatever because of Melina's attack, but wow, isn't it convenient that this happens now and doesn't happen when he was getting whooped the other multiple times throughout this game? Then, when reuniting with Katana and Sindel, they don't even ask how he's still alive, and they immediately trust him. So Sindel won't trust Li Mei for a second, just to hear her out when Li Mei was initially goes to help her, but they don't suspect anything with Ermac being her quote-unquote husband. And I know he winds up like actually being her husband, but if Ermac or somebody was playing a trick on them, this could jeopardize everything that they're trying to do. The 17th thing is, why don't they just kill Shang Tsung while Melina has him distracted? Why doesn't Scorpion throw his blade at Shang Tsung? Why doesn't Smoke? Why doesn't Katana? Scorpion could have easily hit him with a fucking... But nope, instead they do this. And then we get to number 18, the big reveal. And this is one of my biggest gripes with this story. So initially Shang Tsung actually had a pretty solid backstory. His life was shit, and so he was offered the chance to be something greater, and he took that chance because of how his life has gone up to this point. Pretty decent villain, right? Up until he's basically completely pushed to the side for the generic shittier version of the character, who just wants to destroy the timeline because he wants to exterminate all life here and merge it to his own. But why? Like, what's the reason for this? What reason do you have to do this, and what do you gain from this? Again, if I'm missing anything from the previous games here, then feel free to explain it to me in the comments, but, yeah. On to number 19. And I don't even think I want to consider this a serious problem with this story, but something that I just find funny, and it has to do with Shang Tsung again. It's just the fact that every time they both talk...
So much for fire and ice.
All I think of in my head is this clip.
Yakuya Togami. He is mostly the rich guy who's pretty much a douchebag to everyone during the game, and actually is the main, well, not main antagonist, but a side antagonist. He usually would ruin the trials.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that? I don't give a shit.
And there we go. The obvious answer that I have known. You've proven me right. Look at you. Thinking you have all the power in the world, thinking you could trick me. I've fallen for your illusion. How disappointing. So, you're gonna longingly gaze at me.
Shang Tsung quite literally talks like he's a fucking middle school dweeb who watches too much anime. Then we get to number 20, and yes, we're still in the same fucking moment, same scene, whatever you want to call it, because this scene is just fucking terrible. So, Evil Sindel can beat every single person here at the same time, then loses to Melina. Mind you, Liu Kang was 2v1ing Shang Tsung and Quan Chi at the end of the game. Yet all these people ganging up on her right now can't beat her. Who the actual fuck wrote this scene and thought, yeah, this is the one right here? Like, the 21st criticism here... And yes, we're still in the same moment because there's so many fucking issues with this goddamn scene. But Melina was quite literally about to kill her own mother earlier in the story when the Tarkat disease affects her. Yet now, when Sindel is about to die, Melina somehow now has control of her mental state and is sad that her mother is about to die. Consistency. The 22nd thing is, Liu Kang asked Garrick why he didn't become Keeper of Time with the power that he saved for Liu Kang.
It now occurs to me that all along, you have had unfettered access to the power stored within. You could have taken it, become Keeper of Time, but chose not to. Why?
Because I have faith in your vision for this new era. I am content to be its guardian.
Thank you, Gareth.
But this doesn't work because earlier before he says this shit.
It can only be undertaken by the Keeper of Time.
And I no longer wield that power.
You may be able to regain it.
What? How do you mean?
When you gave up control of the hourglass, I worried that one day you would find you needed it. So rather than let your power dissipate, I collected it. To this day, it remains safely stored.
Why did you never tell me this?
Because the process of restoring your power is likely irreversible. Returning to the life you have now, as Earthrealm's protector, a life you cherish, may be impossible.
And you did not want me tempted to make that sacrifice, unless it was absolutely necessary.
Correct.
Thank you, Gareth. You have saved us with your wisdom.
Brother, what fucking wisdom? If Garrus didn't want Liu Kang tempted because he knew he was enjoying his life, and Garrus respects that, and if Garrus has faith in Liu Kang's vision for this universe, then why doesn't Garrus become Keeper of Time so that Liu Kang doesn't have to make this sacrifice? What a fucking asshole. The 23rd thing is, why doesn't Liu Kang or someone try to attack the evil group while they're attacking the hourglass? You're telling me nobody here could do anything? Throw a fucking pebble or something. And it gets even stupider in this scene, because they are all trying to use their own, like, beams of whatever power they have against Shang Tsung. Again, why is someone not attacking Shang Tsung right now? What the fuck? And then after Shang Tsung was weakened, as well as the rest of the evil group here, why the fuck did they just let the evil group walk away? Like, this fucking story. The 24th thing is Liu Kang and Shang having this conversation on the stairs. This isn't really a criticism, it's just something that I find funny. It's just funny how low they're talking to each other and how far they are from each other. I feel like realistically this conversation would go like this. Liu Kang, you're too late. I'm gonna merge the timelines and destroy the world. What? And then finally, the 25th thing. This also really isn't a true criticism, just another thing I find funny. And I'll just let this clip play out, because it's just...
To survive, you must submit.
Yes. The question you must ask is, if Liu Kang couldn't finish us, how possibly could you?
Are you serious, my brother?
So yeah, this is pretty much all I gotta say about the story. I did find a couple things funny in the final battle, like the mixed match characters like fucking Stung Lao, Scorp Lao, and Johnny Savage. But yeah, overall, the story is a fucking mess, but it's a mess that I enjoyed. Now, being completely transparent with you all, on a scale of 10, my skill level for this game, I'd say it's about a 5, maybe a 4. I kind of fucking suck at this game. Sorry, I don't play fighting games, and I haven't played one since Injustice 2, but still, the gameplay for this game was fun as shit. My only real criticism for the gameplay is that grabbing can be inconsistent. Sometimes you need to be fucking kissing someone to grab them, then other times you can just grab them while not being dead in their face. But my only other issue, and this is completely subjective, but I just really don't like the cameo feature in this game. The best way I can only really put into words why I don't like it is just, I just don't like using the cameos, and when they can be really fucking annoying when other people use them against me, or even the AI uses them against me for that matter. I don't know, I just don't like managing this shit. I don't care about the cameos enough. I'd just rather combo people on my own. But I also have been having a fun time with the multiplayer, even though, well, we don't need to talk about that. Listen, I'm working on it. But I don't really have much else to say regarding the gameplay. I don't really feel like going in depth with this shit. I don't think I really need to convince anyone that the gameplay of this game is amazing. There's a good amount of characters, most of which I all had a really fun time with. They all have a bunch of different combo strings and shit. Simply put, again, the gameplay is amazing and I had fun. The other two things that I think are great are the graphics. They are genuinely incredible. Like, this game quite literally looks like real life. The music is also fantastic. The voice acting and line delivery is great for the most part. But yeah, this game is just great on this front. So with all that said, my final thoughts to wrap up this video and my rating for this game is a 7/8 8 out of 10, like a 7, 8 out of 10, in that range. Maybe I'll stick with a 7.5. This could possibly go up and stay at that like 8 out of 10 rating in the future. Maybe when I get better at the game and have more fun with the online, even though I have been playing, I have been having fun with the online. I just kind of suck at it, so you know I'm not enjoying it as much as someone who probably would be if they were like really good at the game, but I'm working on that. I'm also excited to play with like Homelander, Peacemaker, and Omni-Man and shit later down the line when the season, or like when that DLC comes out. But as someone who came into this game not really caring for fighting games, I was genuinely surprised how much fun I had with this game. I'm sure for the fighting game fans, you guys probably have this game rated higher than me. Most of my thoughts on the gameplay of this game are purely subjective outside of the story. I do think the story is objectively poorly written and it has a lot of issues, but I'm sure a good amount of people enjoyed the story, as even I enjoyed it despite thinking the writing is shit. But I want to give a shout out to all my Patreons. If you would like to support me on Patreon, it's only $2 a month and I would appreciate it a lot, and you would be helping me out a lot. I thank you all for watching, and yeah.